When a millionaire entered the wrong car, the incredible revelation changed their lives forever. Tom rushed out of the high-rise building, his tailored suit perfectly fitted, his mind buzzing with numbers and figures. His luxury sedan was parked just a few blocks away, but his attention was snagged by a barrage of emails that flooded his phone. With a distracted mind, he tossed his briefcase into the back seat of what he thought was his car and slid in. It wasn't until he looked up to see a confused face in the front seat that the gravity of his mistake hit him. Emily's heart raced. She was juggling her own chaos. The kids needed picking up from school, the rent was due, and here was this man in a suit, a millionaire by the look of it, invading her space. Just as she considered kicking him out, something stopped her. Perhaps it was his startled expression or the raw vulnerability that lingered in the air, but curiosity got the better of her. "Where to?" she asked, her voice steadier than she felt. My car, over there," Tom pointed, frustrated yet intrigued by the blend of madness and fate that had led to this moment. The tension crackled in the air, a mix of two vastly different realms, like oil and water that somehow found a way to swirl together. As they navigated traffic, Emily took a breath and shared snippets of her life, the late nights she spent driving rideshare to pay bills, the dreams of a better future for her children. Each word a truth bomb, each story laden with emotion. Tom shifted uncomfortably, the walls of his world, once so firm, began to tremble. Here sat a woman, battling the odds, embodying the resilience of the American spirit while he had ridden the wave of privilege for far too long. "Sometimes it feels like just surviving is the only goal," Emily muttered, gripping the wheel tight. "I just want my kids to have what I never had." Tom felt something stir inside him, an unfamiliar warmth, as he caught a glimpse of the fragile dreams that floated in her voice. Things were spiraling beautifully until the car sputtered and jolted to a sudden stop. Emily sighed in exasperation as the golden sun began to dip below the skyline, blessing their moment with warmth yet taunting them with its impending disappearance. "Oh great, just perfect," she said, her frustration palpable. Heart racing, they shared a silence that hummed with the weight of their circumstances. In that moment, Tom was caught in a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. Would he retreat back to his cushioned life, safely cocooned in his privilege, or risk it all to help the woman struggling in front of him? It was a question echoing in his mind louder than the honks from passing cars. He glanced at Emily, resolve tightening his chest. Their worlds, though separated by skin and circumstance, were now intertwined in an unprecedented way. Would he find the courage to step out of the bubble he created for himself and lend a hand? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the last rays of light flickered, Tom faced his choice. A breakdown both mechanical and emotional lay ahead of them, challenging him to step beyond who he thought he should be. In this clash of lives, with all the glitter and grit of New York enveloping them, the real test of character was about to begin. Would he redefine success by reaching out, or would the city wash away the chance to discover what lies beyond wealth and ambition? As dusk painted the sky a deep orange, Tom felt his heart quicken. The engine's silence hung heavy in the air, almost mocking them. Emily cursed under her breath, her fingers tapping anxiously against the steering wheel. She had a routine, a plan, and it was unraveling right in front of her. "Maybe we should call for help," Tom suggested, his voice cutting through the tension, tinged with apprehension. "No time for that," Emily snapped, pressing her lips together. "I have to get the kids." In an instant, her focus shifted, a wild fire igniting in her eyes. She wasn't about to let life push her down. Tom felt an overwhelming urge to jump in, to help her find a solution. "Let me take a look," he offered, opening his door and stepping out into the bustling street, the cool wind ruffling his hair. Emily hesitated, surprised by his offer. "You know about cars?" "More than I'd care to admit," he replied with a small smile, emphasizing his intent to dispel the tension. As they inspected the engine, Emily held her breath, half lost in the struggle of pride and necessity. "I appreciate it, but you really don't have to," she said, her voice softer now. "I want to," Tom said, meeting her gaze. Something shifted then. He felt the weight of his privilege pressing down on him, but within that discomfort, a sense of purpose washed over him. He snapped his fingers against a wire, and the engine hiccuped back to life. The sound, though rough, sparked a flicker of hope in Emily's chest. "You did it!" she exclaimed. The surge of gratitude fueled her spirit, as an unexpected smile broke free. Tom couldn't help but smile back, their worlds merging in a brief moment of shared triumph, but when it died again within moments, the realization washed over them thick and cold. The fight was far from over. Emily sighed, dropping her head back against the headrest. "I'm never going to get to the kids at this rate." "Okay, options," Tom said, setting his shoulders squarely, taking charge. "Let's think of this as an adventure. I'll drive you. I'd hate to see you miss one more moment with them." Her face softened, but skepticism lingered. "You really don't have to. Just get to your fancy dinner or wherever." "Fancy dinner? Trust me. This is way more interesting," Tom chuckled. There was something refreshing about letting go of status just for a moment, unfolding possibilities instead of limitations. Emily hesitated, the strength of independence tugging at her heart. But didn't vulnerability also pave the way for connection? "All right, but keep your suit clean." As they climbed into her car together once more, the hesitation began to dissipate. Emily couldn't ignore the odd chemistry sparking between them, two steaming cups of coffee meeting in a crowded diner. A fleeting glance could say 1,000 things, unspoken truths swirling in the air. Once on the road, every passing moment revealed pieces of each other. They talked about dreams. Emily shared her scope of motherhood while Tom opened up about the loneliness that sometimes accompanied endless success. Little by little, they peeled away the layers of their lives, allowing understanding to blossom in the most unexpected of places, but as they drew closer to the school, dread clawed at Emily's insides. "What if they think I forgot? What if I fail them?" "Failure is sometimes a part of growth, you know," Tom said, his voice gentle. "What matters is your intention." Suddenly, Tom's phone rang, the name displayed drawing a deep breath from his chest, an important business call from his investment partners. He had to take it, but guilt flooded through him knowing it could pull him back into his world of numbers and suits. "Go ahead, take it," Emily encouraged, though her voice trembled. He glanced at her, temptation wrestling within him. "Are you sure?" "Yeah, I'll be fine." She forced a smile but felt uncertain, almost abandoned. As he turned slightly away to take the call, in that electrifying silence, Emily realized they weren't just fixing a car, they were building a bridge between their lives, but now that bridge seemed to be cracking. As he spoke, she wondered if they had misstepped, if their worlds were simply too far apart. Would their moment of connection survive the expectations waiting on either side? The world around them kept moving, but she felt anchored in place, an unsettled question hanging thick in the air: what if everything he was about to return to left no room for the truths they had uncovered? Emily's eyes flickered to Tom as he spoke into his phone, his expression shifting from the warmth that had filled their brief moments together to the seriousness expected in his world of finance. She bit her lip and leaned back, the desperation of the ticking clock gnawing at her. The laughter they were sharing just moments ago was fading, swept away by the urgency of his call, as if it had never existed at all. "Yeah, I see the numbers. Wait, hold on," Tom said, his gaze darting toward her for a fleeting moment before he returned to the conversation, his voice steady but distant. Emily pulled her thoughts away from the road as her heart beat louder than his murmured discussions about stocks and dividends. What if this was all a mistake? What if this connection was temporary, just a reprieve from their separate, chaotic lives? She sighed, glancing out of the window at the passing houses that felt too far removed from her reality. The sun dipped lower, shadows stretching longer, everything seeming to slow down while her heart raced. After what felt like an eternity, Tom ended the call and turned back to her, a sheepish smile on his face. "Sorry about that. Business, you know." "It's fine." She forced out the words, letting the tension spike before she gathered herself. "You've got to do what you have to do. I get it. Do you?" He pressed, a flicker of concern crossing his features. "I don't want you to feel like I'm running away or... I'm not feeling abandoned. Just, realistic." She shook her head, half laughing, half crying. "Now that you're back, can you just drive quicker? I need to get my kids." He grinned at her determination, and for a second, the mood shifted back. The camaraderie they built felt tangible, like something solid between them despite the looming pressure of their separate lives. The school came into view, nestled between tall oaks, as kids poured out the doors with backpacks swinging and laughter echoing through the air. Emily felt a fresh swell of panic. "Oh no, they're going to see me late. They won't understand." "They still love you," Tom said quietly, turning off the engine as her mind raced with the worst-case scenarios. Emily swallowed hard, each heartbeat echoing her fears. "What if they think I don't care? That I'm not there for them?" Tom leaned closer, his voice low but powerful. "You're here now. That's what matters. Life isn't perfect, and neither is parenting." Emily turned to him, struck by his sincerity. But did he understand? Could money and status really teach the same lessons she had struggled with? The moment hung between them, a charge pulsing with the weight of unasked questions. "Maybe," he continued, "I should start learning from you. A different kind of success." Before she could respond, laughter broke through the tension, and her eyes snapped to the school doors again. There stood her children, their faces lighting up the fading dusk. In that moment, all her fears faded, replaced by a primal sense of love and urgency. "I have to go," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, tinged with desperation. "Go," Tom replied, urging her with a nod. As she stepped out and rushed toward her children, their voices filled her ears, and she felt an inexplicable warmth flooding through her. However, she couldn't shake the feeling that something monumental was shifting. Tom watched her, his heart resonating with the rich complexity of the moment. He didn't want to pull back into the sterile world of business now. There was something about Emily that tugged at him, something that made his life feel incomplete without the raw, messy beauty of connection. But what if life wouldn't allow him to remain in this moment? What if duty called him back to the life he had built, the life that might drown out the whisper of possibility? As Emily embraced her children, laughter erupting, Tom's heart ached with a newfound desire for risk. But would he have the courage to chase that risk when everything he known was at stake? The question loomed over him, echoing against the laughter around them, a siren call that promised transformation but threatened all that he had built. What if stepping across that bridge meant risking everything? Emily knelt down beside her children, her pulse still racing from the whirlwind of emotions she had just experienced. They hugged her tight, their laughter bubbling up like a fountain of relief in a dry land. In that moment, everything seemed okay. She was home, surrounded by the love and noise she had occasionally felt distanced from during her struggles. Yet deep down, she sensed the unresolved tension left in Tom's eyes. "Mom! You were late." Her youngest, Lily, exclaimed with a mock pout. "I thought you forgot us." "Never. I'd never forget you," Emily replied, ruffling her hair playfully. But what echoed in her mind was Tom's earlier sincerity. Was it fair that she allowed one man to stir feelings she thought were buried? As they walked toward the parking lot, Emily noticed the gleam of the setting sun casting a warm glow on her children. Their innocence shielded her from despair, but she still felt the weight of her own choices. Each day was a balancing act, demanding jobs, raising kids, and trying to carve out a smidge of time for herself. "Mom, can we get ice cream?" Her son, Max, chimed in, holding up a finger with determination. I think we deserve a treat for waiting. Sure. Ice cream it is. She agreed, her heart swelling at their joy, but the mention of a treat tied her thoughts back to Tom. She turned slightly, glancing back at him as he climbed into his sleek car alone. The warmth in his smile still lingered in her chest. Mom. Lily tugged at her shirt, breaking her train of thought. You coming? Right behind you. Tom's car revved softly as he prepared to leave, the engine purring like a contented cat. Each rev felt like a ticking reminder of the worlds that existed so close yet felt so far apart. How could she juggle her responsibilities while allowing herself to explore the connection they shared? Just then, she spotted Tom glancing back at her. Their eyes met, and the air thickened with unspoken words. Did he wonder about her? About the life carefully woven with fear and love that she embraced each day? Lily's cheerful voice pulled her back. Mom, can we ask him to get ice cream with us? Emily hesitated, weighing her options. It felt reckless, and yet it tingled with possibility. Okay, let us ask. She said, surprising herself. She could almost picture the playful banter that might ensue, the warm laughter echoing among them. As they approached Tom's car, he stepped out, his face a mask of surprised joy. Hey there. I thought you'd rushed off. Actually, we were hoping you'd join us for ice cream. Lily chimed, her eyes sparkling with hope. Tom paused, weighing the invitation, and the moment felt fragile, as if any decision would shatter the delicate balance of their lives. Sure. I'd love that, he responded, his smile genuine. He seemed to light up at the prospect, changing the air around them into something more vibrant. They piled into Emily's modest car, the kids squished between them, laughter erupting from the back seat. As they drove toward the local ice cream shop, she heard snatches of conversation between Tom and the kids, each more animated than the last. It felt as if they were all intertwined in a dance of joy she hadn't allowed herself to enjoy in so long, yet, as laughter enveloped her like a warm blanket, the previous tension unresolved in her heart gnawed at the edges. Could this small moment of joy be a step toward something more? Or was it a sweet diversion from the reality waiting at home? She stole a glance at Tom, his face alight with a carefree expression she didn't expect from a man who seemed to thrive in a world of numbers. It puzzled her how someone so far removed from her daily life could spark such joy, and then, as they pulled into the ice cream shop parking lot, she felt the flutter of possibilities rise within her. But just as they were about to step out, a sudden ringtone pierced through the laughter. A familiar name blinked on Tom's phone. His face turned serious immediately, and for a brief moment, Emily felt the ground shift beneath her once again. Would they push through the tension together? Or would the realities of their lives separate them once more? That question hung in the air, heavy yet charged with hope, wondering if this ice cream outing would lead to deeper conversations or simply return them to their separate paths. Emily watched as Tom's carefree smile faded within seconds, the weight of the phone call morphing his face into a mask of concern. It was as if the levity of their moment crashed down like a house of cards. The laughter of her children, previously vibrant and free, turned into a muted echo in her mind. Is everything okay? She asked, a thread of worry weaving through her voice. Tom hesitated, glancing from the phone in his hand to Emily's eyes, which sought transparency. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. The kids shuffled in their seats, their innocence unaware of the storm brewing just beneath the surface. Maybe it's just work, Max suggested hopefully. They can't find someone else to count their money, right? Emily chuckled nervously at her son's comment, momentarily lightening the mood. But the unease persisted, heavy in the air between her and Tom. The simple joy of ice cream started to feel like a fragile shell, about to crack under pressure. Tom lowered the phone, his brows furrowed. It's a family thing. His voice was steady, yet it shook Emily from within. I'm sorry, but I might need to go. Lily's enthusiasm dulled at the sign of disappointment, her small face scrunching up as she clutched her ice cream dreams in her hands. "But we just got here. Let me just take this," Tom said, glancing down the parking lot as if calculating the distance he needed to cover. "You guys go ahead. I'll catch up." Emily swallowed hard, feeling an unexplainable rush of sadness. "Tom, no. We wanted to spend time with you. Kids, don't you love the ice cream here?" she asked, trying to revive the mood with each word. "Yeah. It's the best," Max added, pipe dreaming an avalanche of flavors into his mind. Tom frowned, caught. I really do. But sometimes there are things we can't ignore. What if we ignore them just for a little bit?" Lily's innocent request made Tom smile, briefly, softening his edge but failing to erase his worry. Emily's heart raced. She wanted to know his story. "Tom, you could give us a few minutes at least," she offered quietly, using the hope in her heart to push back against the shadows looming over them. That he looked at her, and the tension mirrored in their eyes spoke volumes. There was something uncharted between them, a path that lay ahead filled with choices. "I'll be quick," he replied finally, a hint of regret in his voice as he stepped away, still clutching his phone. Watching him walk, Emily felt an odd sense of longing. He fit into their lives seamlessly, as if he were always supposed to be there. She shared a glance with her children, their faces painted with confusion and silent questions. "Can we go in?" Max asked, breaking the silence. "Sure." The word felt heavy on her tongue. She felt like she was stepping into a roller coaster ride, full of twists she couldn't predict. Once inside, they were greeted by the sweet, lush aroma of sugar and vanilla. Emily noticed the kids' enthusiasm bubbling up again, but her mind was far from the flavors dancing around her. She stole glances toward the door, waiting for Tom to return. The moment stretched long and thin until the screech of her phone cut through her thoughts. It was a message from Tom, brief and loaded, "I'll be right back. Don't leave without me." An involuntary sigh of relief escaped her, yet it brought her a fresh wave of uncertainty. As the kids giggled over their choices, she fought the nagging doubt inside her. This small diversion had provided a spark, but would it be enough to ignite something substantial? Then she felt it, an exhilarating fear mingling with a glimmer of hope. Could this really be more than an afternoon of ice cream? Was it momentary, or did the threads of their lives start to weave into something more lasting? Before she could embrace the unfolding possibilities, the bell above the door jingled, and in walked Tom. The shadows were still present in his eyes, but he wore a smile. "Sorry about that. What did I miss?" And with that, the moment turned electric. Emily realized she stood at the edge of something monumental, yet the fear of losing balance was just as potent as the thrill of stepping forward. Would she take a leap of faith, or allow life's worries to swallow this opportunity whole? As the laughter of her children wrapped around her, the answer felt just out of reach, igniting her curiosity for what came next. The air buzzed with a mixture of relief and tension as Tom joined them at the counter, a chocolate smear already adorning his cheek, a remnant from the first scoop of ice cream he must have indulged in. Emily couldn't help but admire how he seemed to navigate the space. He blended in effortlessly with her kids, transforming the previous heaviness into laughter almost instantly. "Okay, what's the plan? Who's in for a mountain of sprinkles?" he asked playfully, flashing his infectious grin. Me. Me." Both kids chimed, their eyes sparkling with joy. Emily watched as Tom lowered himself to their height, playfully feigning a stern look. "Only if you promise to share. I can't handle all that sugar myself." Max's laughter was a balm for Emily's nerves, but it couldn't overshadow the shadow that still hovered over her thoughts. "Hey Tom," she ventured softly as they waited for their orders, the excitement from the kids fading into the background. "What's going on with your family?" Tom straightened up, momentarily taken aback. His expression shifted, the clouds returning briefly to his features. "It's nothing, just a little personal business," he replied, and yet, there was something in his voice that suggested a deeper weight. "Are you sure?" You know we're here for you, Emily pressed gently, a spark of vulnerability flickering between them. He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck, a gesture of unease. I really appreciate that, Em. But it's complicated. Let us just enjoy this moment, yeah. The kids squealed as their mountain of ice cream was placed before them, and for a moment, Emily was pulled back into the children's world of delight. Their little voices sang as they plotted their frosty feast, cups filled with swirls of bright color. She wanted to cherish this, but Tom's reluctance gnawed at her. Do you ever feel like you're stuck? She finally asked, words spilling out before she could stop herself. The question lingered in the air, drawing Tom's gaze back to hers. He hesitated, searching her eyes for something before speaking. All the time. It's like there are things in life pulling you in different directions. Sometimes it clouds your judgment, and you don't know which way to turn. Like choosing ice cream flavors. Max chimed in, not quite grasping the deeper conversation but excited nonetheless. Exactly. It's about picking what makes you happy in that moment, Tom replied, humor returning to his eyes as he ruffled Max's hair. But the heaviness never fully dissipated, like an uninvited guest at a party. Emily's heart raced as she carried those words. What made them happy? Was it fleeting ice cream moments or something deeper, lying just beneath the surface for all of them? Their laughter bubbled back up as ice cream melted in their hands, and Max declared himself the champion of sprinkles, holding his cone aloft like a trophy. However, in each giggle echoed a silent understanding of the struggle resting on Tom's shoulders. As they finished their treats, the sun started to set, casting long shadows over the parking lot. Tom's phone buzzed yet again, pulling him momentarily away. Emily watched him step a little too far, her heart tightening. She took a deep breath, sensing the moment grew crucial. Tom, wait. She called after him. Are you really okay? He turned back to her, brows furrowed, eyes deep, daring her to pull back. I'll explain everything soon. I promise. The promise hung between them, holding a world of possibilities. She could nearly visualize their lives intertwining even more, but there was hesitation, a thin line of fate stretched taut between understanding and uncertainty, and as he stepped away, another message popped up on Tom's phone, lighting up his face, casting shadows against the soft glow of dusk. Curiosity clawed at Emily's insides. Who was on the other end that could draw him back into a place of worries? Her mind raced with questions as the laughter of her children faded into the background. If Tom was about to share something monumental, would it change how they saw him? Would it alter their lives forever? The weight of her heart felt heavier, racing ahead of her thoughts. The night was cloaked in secrets, waiting to be unraveled. What lay beneath the surface of Tom's world was no longer just a curiosity, it was a quest, imminent and potentially life-altering. As Tom turned back, softening the tension with his warm smile, an electric pulse surged through the air. Emily felt herself lean in, heartbeat echoing, hungry for what was next. Would the evening shed light on everything they were masking? Would this create a bridge between their worlds? And with that lingering question in her heart, Emily realized the real journey was just beginning. The heavy evening air carried the distant sounds of laughter and car engines, but for Emily, the world had narrowed down to the space between her and Tom. He stood there, expression softening but still distant, a mix of warmth and guardedness layered on his features. His eyes sparkled with hesitant joy, making her heart flutter between hope and apprehension. Let's take a walk, she suggested, her own voice barely rising above the ambient noise. She needed a change of scenery, a moment alone with Tom away from the chaos of ice cream-induced giggles. He nodded, fingertips brushing against hers as they moved past the swirls of color and sugary chaos. As they walked slowly, the setting sun painted a golden hue across the sky, illuminating the path ahead. Emily stole glances at Tom, and every moment stretched out, laden with unsaid confessions. The playground adjacent to the ice cream parlor was alive, little ones scampering around while parents looked on, carefree in their own right. What's on your mind? Tom asked, breaking the silence. There was something sincere in his voice, an invitation to share. Emily hesitated, glancing at the brightly colored swings before her mind turned back to him. What we talked about earlier, are you really okay? You know, with everything that's happening in your life. She felt her own voice tremble slightly, the weight of her concern spilling over. Tom stopped walking, turning to face her, his hands shoved deep in his pockets. Honestly? It's been tough. My parents. I mean, they've always been there, but now everything feels like it's shifting. It gives me this weird sense that I'm losing control. He looked out into the distance, his expression clouded. It's like I'm standing still while the world keeps turning. And sure, I smile with your kids, and it feels great, but when I go home alone, that heaviness returns. It's like a shadow I can't shake off. Emily felt something in her heart clench at his words. She reached out, placing a comforting hand on his arm. You don't have to go through this alone, Tom. Whatever it is, we can face it together. His eyes met hers, a flicker of hope igniting momentarily before he pulled back, shaking his head. That's just it, Em. I don't want to drag you into my mess. I wish I could just wave a magic wand and make everything okay, but I can't. Let me decide what I can handle, okay? Friends share burdens. Wouldn't it just be easier if you let me in? He studied her, and for a moment, Emily thought she saw a hint of something deeper in his gaze, an unspoken gratitude, perhaps. But uncertainty quickly replaced that flicker, and he turned away, looking up at the evening star piercing through the twilight. That's what scares me, he finally admitted, his voice barely a whisper. What if I let you in, and it does change everything? What if? I can't handle that kind of change. What if it's a good change? She countered gently, hopeful yet wounded by his hesitance. What if this is what you need? There's strength in sharing, Tom. You can't carry this alone and still be happy. He turned back, his brow furrowed in thought. I just don't know if I'm ready. Not for what that would mean, for you, for me. As silence enveloped them, the night came alive with cricket chirps, the ambient sounds turning into a soothing lullaby amidst the emotional storm brewing between them. Emily noticed the warmth of his arm against her hand, realizing how much she wanted to cross that distance, to pull him closer. But fear held her back, too, cloaking their moment in uncertainty. Just then, Tom's phone buzzed again, pulling him from their intimate moment. He stared at the screen, tension creeping back into his posture. His expression changed, something flickered there that tightened the knot in her stomach even more. What is it? She asked, concern threading through her tone as she noticed the way his shoulders tensed. Just a reminder, he mumbled, his eyes still glued to the phone. But Emily caught a glimpse of the message and her heart sank. It was a name she didn't recognize. Is it someone from your family? Do you need to take it? She asked, a lump forming in her throat. Tom hesitated, the flash of conflict crossing his face. The evening air felt electric as questions raced through Emily's mind. Who was it? What did they want? What heavy revelation lurked in the shadows waiting to spill out? Let us go back inside, he said, almost sheepishly. If only he knew the ripple this moment could cause, how it could shift their hesitation into something monumental. Suddenly, she felt a surge of determination. The night was thick with the promise of what could unfold. There was more waiting beneath the surface, potentially a life-changing revelation just around the corner, but as they turned back toward the bright lights of the ice cream parlor, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was coming might alter everything she thought she knew about Tom and about herself. And there, in that flickering twilight, hope hung delicately, spun from the threads of uncertainty. Would she find the courage to push through the wall he had built? Would Tom finally give himself the chance to embrace the future they both so desperately needed? As they stepped back into the buzzing atmosphere of the ice cream parlor, Emily's heart raced. The bright colors and playful laughter felt like two worlds colliding. The joy around her contrasted sharply with the heaviness lingering in Tom's gaze. He walked with his head down, thumbing at his phone like it held all the answers he was too afraid to confront. The sounds of children giggling and the cheerful jingle of the ice cream truck faded into a dull murmur in her ears. Emily wanted to pull him back, to demand he speak his truth, but she held back, afraid she might shatter the fragile moment they had shared outside. "Tom, are you sure you're okay?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper as they slipped through the door, the cool air conditioning washing over them like a relief from the weighty heat of the conversation. That he finally looked up, the flicker of vulnerability crossing his face. "Just overwhelmed, I guess." He let out a short laugh that didn't quite reach his eyes. "New phone and all these notifications popping up. It's like my whole life is screaming at me." Emily glanced around the parlor. Families were seated at colorful plastic tables, children with sticky faces all over their cones. The aroma of waffle cones mingled with laughter, sweet and innocent yet so far from their reality. "Do you want to take a minute?" she asked, trying to gauge his state of mind. "Breathe? Or we can sit down and just hang out." Tom shook his head, taking a deep breath in as if he might steady something within himself. "No, I think I need to deal with this." "Like ripping off a band-aid, right?" "Right," she replied, trying to keep her tone light, even though her heart ached at the words. "Do you want me to be here with you?" "I am." He interrupted her gently. "This is something I need to handle alone. But thanks. I really appreciate it." She nodded, battling the urge to reach out again, to pull him closer. Instead, she stepped back, giving him the space he seemed to need. He stared at his phone, and she could practically feel his internal struggle as the minutes passed in silence. "What if I could help?" she blurted out before she had a chance to filter her thoughts. "If you're dealing with someone important, it might just be easier if you talk it out with someone who cares." Tom finally looked at her, eyes wide and caught off guard. "You want to get mixed up in my mess?" "I don't see it as a mess. I see it as something we could I can't. You wouldn't understand." His voice was strained and sudden, cutting through her like a sharp wind, and her heart recoiled at the rejection. "Try me," she urged, desperate to break through. "I've gone through my share of stuff, and you would be surprised at how much." Just then, his phone buzzed yet again, vibrating violently in his hand. Tom's face paled as he read the message. For a moment, his expression was a cocktail of disbelief and fear mixed with a flicker of anger. Emily felt the air thicken between them, as if something monumental was about to be revealed. "What is it?" "Tom, please," she urged, feeling the tremor in her stomach. "You can't keep shutting me out." He closed his eyes, as if bracing himself for an impact. "It's just not what I wanted to deal with right now." "Can't it wait?" "But it's already here." Her voice was steady, not allowing the wave of uncertainty to wash over her again. "Whatever this is, it feels like it could change everything between us. Don't you want to know?" He hesitated, standing there like a statue under the bright lights, sweat glistening at his brow and vulnerability etched deep into his features. The tide of his thoughts seemed to twist and turn until finally, he exhaled, deflated. "Okay. But if we're doing this, I need to be honest. No more pulling punches. Are you ready for the truth?" His voice dropped to a whisper, and in that moment, hope and fear collided inside Emily's chest. "What do you mean?" she asked, her breath hitching in anticipation. As he opened his mouth to speak, the bell above the door chimed and in walked a figure from the shadows of his past, a woman with an unmistakable air of authority. Her presence shifted everything in the room. Suddenly, it was Tom's world that felt like it was spiraling. Emily's heart raced, and for the first time, she questioned whether the truth would really set them free or entangle them deeper in a web of secrets. What if this woman was the key to everything they feared and desired? The moment hung heavy, and as Tom's face drained of color, Emily knew their lives were on the brink of a revelation that could alter everything they held dear. The woman glided through the parlor like she owned it, her tailored suit and sharp heels giving her an air of confidence that turned heads. Tom's expression shifted from quiet fear to outright panic as he recognized her. "Mom!" he breathed, As if saying the word itself could change the reality that sat heavy in the air. Emily's stomach dropped. She had met Tom's world, but this woman looked like she belonged somewhere far removed from the ice cream parlor. This is not good, she thought. Her mind raced through scenarios, each more anxiety-inducing than the last. Tom, his mother said, her voice booming yet cool, we need to talk. Now. It wasn't a request, though laughter and chattering children faded away, replaced by the overwhelming tension that hung between them. Emily watched Tom's muscles tense, fingers curling tight around his phone. She wanted to comfort him, but he seemed a million miles away. Not here, Mom. Please, he replied, almost pleading. Emily could see the young boy he once was in that moment, someone stuck between wanting to please and the fear of being scolded. The woman ignored his request, her attention flicking over to Emily. She studied her, eyebrows low and eyes sharp. And who is this? Emily felt suddenly exposed under the woman's scrutinizing gaze. I'm Emily, she stammered, forcing herself to stand tall despite the rising tide of embarrassment. Tom's mother dismissed her, returning to her son. I don't have time to play games. You left the family business to chase dreams that will never amount to anything. You took a gamble, and now you've got to face the consequences. Tom flinched at her words, like each one physically struck him. Emily sensed the struggle, the resentment buried beneath layers of obligation and worthiness. Can we not do this here? Tom's voice broke, revealing a corner of his emotional battle. This is not what I wanted today. This is not about you, she shot back, a hint of steel in her tone. You should have thought about that before running away from your responsibilities. The weight of her words echoed around the parlor, sending a chill through Emily. This woman embodied everything Tom seemed to be fighting against. A world of expectations and obligations that could crush a spirit. Mom, I'm trying to build a life. One I can be proud of, without using the family name as a crutch, Tom replied, each word sounding like it tore at the fabric of their relationship. Emily took a small step back, feeling the reality of their circumstance wash over her. She wanted to interject, to defend Tom, but she sensed the storm brewing between mother and son. This was his battle to fight. Tom's mother rolled her eyes. You think you're proud? What will you have in the end, Tom? A few good memories from this little escapade? You're playing with fire. With a sudden surge of courage, Tom stepped forward. Maybe I want to play with fire. I want passion. I don't want to feel like I'm just living for expectations. Emily felt the air crackle with tension, the truth radiating with an intensity she could almost touch. This wasn't just about Tom running from something. It was about him discovering who he really was. Tom, let us just go, Emily urged, but he stood firm, eyes locked with his mother. The parlor fell silent around them, all eyes now drawn to the simmering confrontation. People shared glances, and Emily sensed there was a story unraveling right before them, one that could shape Tom's future in ways he couldn't yet comprehend. His mother crossed her arms, lips pressed tight, unwilling to back down. I'll give you a week to think about this. If you're still making the same mistakes, don't bother coming back. With that, she turned on her heel, striding out of the parlor as dramatically as she entered. Tom's shoulders sagged. He looked like he had just weathered a storm, and Emily could feel his entire body shaking with the aftermath. Everything felt heavy, like the clouds between them threatened to burst. Suddenly, the weight of Tom's secret clashed with the reality of his mother's ultimatum. What now? He whispered, looking at her with eyes filled with uncertainty. And in that moment, she understood that the next choice he made could redefine not just his world, but theirs together. Let us figure it out together, she offered, extending her hand to him. As he hesitated, another part of Tom's life loomed, one that could tear them apart or pull them closer. Would he take her hand and step into the unknown? Tom stood at the crossroads of chaos and clarity. Emily's hand extended toward him, fingers inviting him to embark on this unpredictable journey together. The air vibrated with tension, the echoes of his mother's words still ringing in his ears. A week to think about this. The ultimatum loomed like a dark cloud, threatening to overshadow the light that had sparked between them. He took a deep breath, heart racing at the prospect of choice. Was he ready to step into a new chapter, one woven with uncertainty yet shimmering with the potential of connection? Emily's calm presence rooted him as he tried to unravel the tangled mess inside his mind. "Let us figure this out together," she repeated, her voice steady and filled with sincerity. It echoed in him like a promise, igniting a flicker of determination. He could feel his walls beginning to crumble, inch by inch. "Okay," Tom finally replied, the word shaky yet imbued with resolution. "I don't want to go back to how things were. All those years of pretending, of living for someone else's expectations instead of embracing his passion, it had taken him too long to realize. But I need your help." A wave of relief washed over Emily as a radiant smile broke across her face. "I'm right here. We'll find a way." It was that simple affirmation, the commitment flickering between them, turning the shadows of uncertainty into a soft light of hope. As they turned to leave the parlor, laughter erupted behind them, children still gleefully enjoying their treats. The sound didn't fade, it lingered in the air like a warm hug, reminding them both of the joy found in small moments. It strengthened their resolve to find meaning amid the noise of life. "First things first," Emily said as they stepped outside, the evening air cool against their skin. "Let us get your head clear of all that noise. What do you love? What's worth fighting for?" Tom paused, the question echoing in the empty spaces of his mind. "Music, I guess," he began slowly. "I used to play the guitar. Before everything." A flicker of warmth ignited in his chest. "It was where I felt alive." "Then let us make part of that our mission," Emily encouraged, sparking a glimmer of excitement in his eyes. "Let us find that rhythm again." The days passed quickly. They ventured through open mic cafes and local gigs, with Tom hesitantly strumming his old guitar as Emily cheered him on. Each note unfolded like petals of a flower, layers of stories spilling from his fingertips. The joy of creation began to chase away the shadows of his mother's expectations, and he learned to breathe in every exhilarating moment spent on that stage. Emily stood off to the side, glowing with pride as she watched him blossom. Her heart swelled at the evolution unfolding before her. This man was becoming more of himself every day. But underneath the excitement, Tom couldn't shake the weight of his mother's ultimatum. Each moment made him stronger, yet her words loomed like ghosts, haunting his thoughts. One evening, he stood outside the cafe where they often performed, guitar slung over his shoulder and uncertainty creeping back like an unwelcome shadow. What if she's right? He confessed, anxiety twisting his stomach. Emily stepped closer, her resolve unwavering. What if she's wrong? What if your heart knows an entirely different path? Her voice was soft, yet undeniably strong. As Tom processed her words, it felt like a spark igniting in the dark. For too long, he had lived boxed in by fear. He wanted something different, something alive, and no matter what anyone expected, he deserved that. Days turned into nights filled with laughter and uncertainty. Finally, Tom found himself facing the moment he had been avoiding, standing in front of his mother once more at a family gathering, the atmosphere buzzing with anticipation. "Tom," she began, her voice cold and sharp. "Have you made a decision?" He looked her in the eye, steely resolve hardening his chest. "I have. I want to choose my own path." The surprise on her face was palpable, and silence fell over the group gathered around them. "You can't. Just walk away," she retorted, but there was a tremor in her voice, now a hint of fear. He took a deep breath. "I've been doing it your way for too long. It almost made me lose my love of music. I want to do this for me now." Their eyes locked, tension sparking. "This is your last chance, Tom. You think you can survive without the family name?" The burden of years of expectation weighed heavy on him, yet here he stood finally, liberated. "No. I think I'll thrive." Her face tightened in indignation, but something shifted behind her eyes, perhaps a glimpse of recognition for the man he was becoming. "You really believe that?" "I do," he replied, straightening his shoulders. The scattered applause from the family in the background echoed his conviction. Back at the cafe, Emily awaited his return. She felt the tension in the air shift as he stepped through the door. The warmth of their connection flowed unbroken as he drew near. "I did it," he announced, energy radiating from him like the pulse of a new beginning. "I'm proud of you," she whispered, and the words filled not just the air but also his heart. In that moment, under the soft glow of fairy lights, everything felt possible again: creativity, love, and everything in between, and with that, they leaned into each other, unsure of where the road would lead but knowing they'd walk it together, hand in hand, ready to embrace the future rising before them. The journey had just begun. Now, if you felt even a fraction of what Emily and Tom felt through their transformation, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to our channel to catch all the exclusive stories coming your way. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. We appreciate every single fan who rallies behind us. Your support makes all the difference.